modern website usually will be made up of front end as well as back end. And more specifically, most of the time, these particular websites will use React in the front end and Node.js in the back end. That's called as MERN stack. And websites built using this kind of configuration will be so much powerful, and it will make sure everything gets loaded fast, and it will give best experience to the user. So what and all front end React project will include? It will have components, and these components are nothing but it's a function which will have all the HTML as well as some kind of logic in it. And if you go to one website, every page is a component, as well as every header, footer, and all the sections include, right? All those are also a component itself. So that's why whenever we visit one website, it's made up of components. So all these components will be communicating with the backend server, and that backend server is usually made up of Node.js. And that backend server will take the request from front end, which are sent using these components, and that request gets processed, and it will communicate with the database, and it will give the relevant result, whatever the result you want. And if you go little bit technical terms, this front end will send request, and that request will get intercepted in the Node.js backend API. It's a router component, and that particular router will make sure whatever the controller is mapped to that router gets executed, and in that particular controller usually there will be some kind of logic as well as connection to database using models. Models are nothing but one structure of database or a table. So that's how this particular front end as well as back end communication works. And whenever we visit website, we won't understand all this complex communication is happening, because obviously it will be abstract for the front end user. They'll just see whatever the data they entered gets to the backend, and they will see result whatever the backend server gives it in return. Now the question would be, how do these two things communicate? These two things communicate using something called as JSON object. And these JSON objects are nothing but it looks like this. And this JSON will communicate with backend, and the backend knows how to read the JSON. Let me give you the example. If front-end website will take username as well as password in the input form, it will get converted into JSON, and that JSON is transported to backend API, and backend API knows how to read username as well as password, and to perform whatever the backend logic it might have, maybe using models and figuring out how to authenticate user, or maybe intercepting that JSON and sending it to Google's authentication servers if you are using Google OAuth. So that's how the communication works. Also, front end will use some kind of technologies like AXIOS or Fetch API to communicate with the backend, and backend will understand no matter which kind of technology you use. Even mobile application can communicate with the backend API, so that's why there won't be any kind of difference if you are using a mobile app or a front end website. So now the question would be, is it good idea to become this front end and backend developer? Or is it even a thing to become both of these using Node.js API as well as front-end React? Yes, these are called as full stack web developer, and this particular stack is MERN stack. And the thing with this particular complex architecture is you will be getting paid highly, because you will be responsible for maintaining front end as well as back end of a project. That's why it's going to take little bit more time to do all this process, because there will be front end, it will have lots of component in it, and it will have some kind of state management in it. So all these things will make sure the project is longer, as well as it's going to take much time to learn as well as actually do it, which is going to get paid high, as well as it's going to take your lots of time as well as mental energy, because going back and forth between front end and back end, it's not that much easy task. But if you are interested in it, go ahead and do it. If you want to learn more about MERN stack, I have made video here, and if you like these kind of videos, don't forget to hit that subscribe button here, and see you in the next video. Bye bye.